What's up, everybody? It's your boy YB Terrion, aka Big Homie Scrub Dog. I have not gotten a haircut. This is looking terrible right now, but that's okay. So, welcome back to another episode of Planet 24/7 Podcast. We are here with a very special guest today. We have Miss Sybil Thomas. So before we started filming today, she was kind of giving me the rundown of her discography. Normally I would do it, but I'm going to back up out of the way and allow her to tell you guys what she's already accomplished in the industry. So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sybil, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Great. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Good. I'm happy you're here. The room smells like flowers now. So let me back out of the way and you go ahead and let people know who you are and what you've accomplished.
Well, I guess I should start at the beginning. I'm the daughter of Rufus Thomas, who was one of the owners of Stax Records, the Stax record label. Back in the day, before there was Motown, there was Stax Records. And that was the first black-owned radio station or record label in the U.S. during that time, and they had amazing people like Al Green, Isaac Hayes, the Staple Singers, Johnny Taylor. So many people. True, the Barcades, R&B music at its finest. My sister Carla Thomas was also one of the recording artists on that label, but I grew up in this industry family. And I don't know, I guess God had dropped something in my spirit when I was just around it all. And I thought everybody's daddy sang and went on the road and went to London and did everything. So then I was gifted. So, and I wanted to write and I wanted to sing. And so I just started doing it. My very first job, I went on the road. I was in university, and I got a call to go on the road with the Platters, which is an old school doo-wop band. And they had Only You, a lot of really famous ballads and stuff. And I took the job and really got educated on singing harmony parts and that whole doo-wop old school feel, which a lot of people aren't doing anymore. Bruno Mars kind of does some of that. Yeah. That old school. It's a vibe. Anyways, so I fell in love, and I didn't go back to school then, but I went on the road, and I came back, and I was living in Los Angeles, and I started doing sessions, studio work, jingles, TV commercials, but like the voiceovers behind them, not visual. And I started doing a lot of that, and then I got called to go on the road with Lou Rawls.
Wow.
This was back in the day, and he was doing Vegas and all this kind of stuff, it was a real cush gig. I learned a lot by working with him because he's old school like that, and he was my dad's friend. So a lot of the people in the industry know of my father, and so I got a little bit of action based on that, but at the end of the day, I had to put up because I'm the one that's there. Right. And so, but I was, anybody asked me, can you do this? I always say yes. I never. That's right. I can't do this. I'll go and research and find out how to do it if I didn't know. That's right. But, and so, this was a while back in the 70s and the 80s. I started working with a giant called George Duke. I was in the George Duke band after he left Frank Zappa's band. Wow. Fusion. This was when all the fusion music was happening. It was cresting, and it was a whole new thing. And George wanted to do a funk band and have background singers and stuff. So I toured with him and did some records with him. That was fun, lots of fun. Worked with Ayrton Morera and Flora Purim.
Say that one more time.
Ayrton Morera.
Ayrton.
Airto. That's how he used to say his name. Airto, who is like a master in Brazilian fusion music from Rio. So it was a whole different thing for me because I'm singing in Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese, but
really,
they would sound it out phonetically, write it out phonetically for me. And it was so interesting. And I love Brazilian music. I love salsa.
That's
and
right.
and it was a whole new thing for me. And I just really, really loved it. Went to Rio, did a lot of traveling. Ever since when I first went out with the Platters, I was 19. And I went to Europe and ended up coming back to the States. I moved to New York. Because I loved living in LA, but I thought, for me, it was all about New York City.
Yeah.
I needed to get to New York. And so I ended up being able, as life happens, God has a way of causing things to shift. Mm-hmm. And I ended up being able to move to New York. And that really sort of just gave a jump start to a lot of stuff in my career and my contacts.
New York seems to be the place for that.
And back in those days, in the 80s, there was a lot. That was the time to be in New York, musically, I think. And there was so much going on. There was so much talent, and so many opportunities. And I had a lot of contacts, so I was able to do some things like I was one of the principal background singers on Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
They had their band, right?
Yeah.
And then they had the principal background singers that would sing behind all the artists that came on the show, right? So I was one of those.
Like the in-house band?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the background singers that would sing background behind whoever the artist was,
right, that
didn't have their own background singers.
Got it.
We would go in and maybe record some stuff and then shoot live, that kind of stuff. Joe Cocker, Lily Tomlin, lots of different people. And there was a friend of mine that I used to do jingles with that would call me. He was a contractor, a vocal contractor for jingles in New York. And he was also a very popular background singer. There was like a crew, a crew of these really amazing singers. And his name was Luther Vandross. Now, back in the day...
Time out. Can we wait a minute? We can't just skate over that. So it was a group of people that were doing jingles.
Yeah, it was. A lot of them were very famous, but he was very famous at the time. Patty Austin was another one that was. There was a crew of these amazing, talented singers.
So one of the people in the crew
was Luther
Vandross,
and he was my buddy. And he would call me for background sessions to do, certain jingles. We were background singers, and so we became very close. There was an artistic respect that I had for him because, he was amazing as a jingle contractor. The way that he could arrange voices, because he was a vocal arranger, and he was phenomenal. The stuff that he would do for these, there was a surge of a lot of at that time black production on like McDonald's or this or that or the other, but with R&B sounding stuff, which was kind of a new thing, you know, and so he was great at that, and so we got close, and I was working at this club in New York called 7th Avenue South.
7th Avenue South.
Yes, it was down in Soho. And I had this amazing band, Kenny Kirkland, who played with Sting, Buddy Williams, Marcus Miller was my bass player.
Wow.
David Sanborn was my horn player. and Hiram Bullock was my guitarist. I didn't even know what I had. I had gold in my hands with this band, and this was way before cell phones and video and all this kind of stuff. So I just have pictures from that era. I was never able to record any of that live stuff.
Right.
But Luther would Uncle Ronnie, I called him Uncle Ronnie because his name is Ronald Luther.
Yeah.
He would come to my shows,
Didn't know that.
And so when it's so funny when he kept saying, and I was at the time, okay, so I was doing that, and I was also singing background with Roberta Flack. I toured with her for 7 years.
Wow.
And we were traveling everywhere you could think of. I mean, from Abu Dhabi to Japan to just everywhere, because she's such an international artist.
Right.
And he was singing background too.
Wow.
We had like this group of
That's
background
amazing
singers.
to know. The great Luther Vandross was a background singer.
He was not only a background, he sang with Bowie.
Really?
He did Bette Midler. He did like all the big rock groups. But when he started working with Bowie, he was starting to blow up. And I remember there was a time in the city when he got his first apartment from his mom, and after he moved out from his mother, and he was saying, now that I'm stepping out on my own, I want to step out on my own all the way, musically as well. I want to do a project, my own project. I'm tired of singing on everybody else's stuff.
Right.
Because he was
Of
making
course.
everybody else's stuff sound sweet. And he was like, I need to do this. And Roberta was the one that really, Roberta Flack was the one that really encouraged him. She said, it's not that I'm firing you. I'm not firing you.
Yeah.
Because I love you and I love you here. But I want you to move on.
Yeah. Spread your wings.
I need you to move on
Yeah.
because there's greatness here. And you're just wading in the water over here with me. You need to step in another direction. So I'm letting you go. And he always used to tease and say, Roberta Flack fired me. But there's an interview on YouTube about that.
Yeah.
And she corrects everybody because she wanted everybody to know that she was trying to push him.
Yeah. Push him into his own.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
because he was almost there, but he was holding back because, job security and,
Of course.
Everything, and New York is very expensive to live in. But we all knew that there was greatness there. And when he called and asked for us, he was doing 4 tracks. He was doing an EP. It was Never Too Much. Having a Party. You Stop Loving Me. And Having a Party. It was those 4 tracks. And he didn't pay us nothing because we were all broke.
Yeah.
But he said, but when I get my deal, I'm paying everybody triple scale. And he took it to Clive. He got turned down 5 times.
Wow.
Luther Vandross.
Right.
But Clive, when he took it to Clive Davis, Clive signed him. Luther had mastered his projects. And so he went on. The rest is history. Never Too Much was released first. And every time I hear it on the radio, I get so excited.
So so you had a really close relationship with Luther Vandross.
He was my buddy.
When you guys were around at that time, did you record on any of the stuff that he did? Like on his EP, on his album?
Yeah, I sang on Never Too Much. I sang on
Let's Go.
Having a Party. I sang on You Stop Loving Me.
Wow.
And the ballad was A House Is Not Home.
Is that on the same album?
Yeah, all in the same moment. It was an EP.
Like a chair is still a chair.
Yeah. But there were no backgrounds on that.
Wow.
They just
I just got chills right now. That's crazy.
He shined on that one. He was letting everybody know what was up, what time it was.
Yeah.
As the supreme balladeer that he is, he still is, even though he's not physically with us. He's still with us.
Of course.
And when he got the deal, he did everything he said he was going to do, because I remember us recording and the off hours between 12 and 6, because that's when the studio was down and nobody was in there. It was cheaper.
Right.
You know, we were all struggling artists at that time.
Yeah.
So that's my Luther Vandross segment of my stuff.
That's from the beginning all the way up to Luther. That is impressive. That is you're touring the world at 19 and you're New York, Abu Dhabi, and everywhere.
Yeah, I was
19. I can't tell you what I was doing at 19, but it wasn't that.
Maybe we don't want to know.
Yeah, maybe we don't want to know.
That's on a need to know basis.
That's on a need to know basis. So,
Right.
man, well, you know what? I want to pause right here because I'm all the way engaged. We're gonna take a quick break and then we'll be right back with more with Miss Sybil.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
We're not the same. We're not the same.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Planet 24/7 podcast. We are still here with the wonderful Miss Sybil. So you guys already know how we get down with the second segment of the podcast. We like to have a little bit of fun, like to play some games, get to know our guests a little bit better. So for every episode, what I like to do is I like to create a game specifically tailored to our guests. So today's game is called Old School or New School. So I have a bunch of different categories. Before we started filming, I said, as an example, do you like old school TVs or new school TVs? As an example, right? The old school TVs, you know, if you had one like me, the knob broke and you had to get the pliers and turn it. If you miss your channel, you got to go all the way back around, you know, so that was mine. And then, with the new school, they just got thousands and thousands of channels. I can't keep up. So that's kind of what this segment is about.
All
Just,
right.
you know, do you prefer the old school or the new school? So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So let's start with something simple. Let's go cars. Do you prefer old school cars or new school cars?
I prefer new school cars.
Really?
And I'll tell you why.
Please do.
I appreciate and respect and admire the classics.
Yes.
But there are a lot of advantages. For example, I have a Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
And I really love this car. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not an American
For those that
made
don't
car.
know, Mini Cooper is about this big.
Well, it's not so much that they're made by BMW.
Yes.
And they're really high. They're very efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And there are all these little perks and features
Mm-hmm.
that the old school cars don't have.
True. Very
And
true.
I am trying to get more involved with technology and what's happening as we're moving forward in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate not having to have a key.
Mm.
You know,
That was a flex.
you know what I
like
mean?
that,
And
yeah.
and you know, they have the type of tires that I have. They're run flat tires. Like if
Yeah.
I have a flat, then it'll still run.
still good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have to pull over to the side and call up AAA and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So I'm, you know, and also, you know, GPS. I mean, I remember back in the day when we used to have maps. And, you know, you had to call your cousin to get the address and write
Right.
it down
Right,
and
right.
call them back, stop at the phone booth, have to call them back
Yep.
and say, do I make a left turn at
Yeah.
that street? Or
Yeah.
Now, GPS, and I wonder how we survived. We did. I mean, I did.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, there are a lot of things about new school that I like. But then there's a lot of the old school stuff that I admire
Yeah.
and I treasure.
I like that. So you more so like the new school for the convenience and the comfortability.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
I'm not
Gotcha.
trying to work that hard. You know.
I feel it. Like, look, when I get in the car, I just need to push a button and go.
There you go.
That's it. You don't want to.
I'm not trying to get a jump. Oh my goodness.
I get it. I get
None
it.
of that.
You know what? I can appreciate that and I can respect that. Personally, you know, and I was thinking about this when I made this game. I was like, do I want a new school or an old school? Like, so on the boulevard down the street from here, they have every Saturday they have all the old schools just drive up and down the boulevard for hours, and I'd be like, man, like I want one so bad, you know. But I also want my new school car too, you know. So I get it. Okay, next question. Let me ask you this, which I'm really curious because you have such a rich history in music. Do you prefer old school music or new school music?
Definitely old school, no doubt about it.
Okay. Do you have any artists in particular? I mean, I know at least one.
Oh, I have so many. I mean, depending on there's Smokey Robinson.
Yes.
I mean, classic old school, you know, with all those Motown hits.
Yes.
And everything that he wrote, not only for himself and the Miracles, but for so many other artists on the label, like songs you wouldn't even know. And then there's Ashford and Simpson. They wrote so many. I mean, there's this treasure trove of music from old school. And then, you know, I mean, I love Bobby Womack.
Bobby Womack, yeah.
I mean, there were these Isaac Hayes.
Yes.
I mean, the staple singers, the Soul Children.
Yeah.
The Emotions started with Stax.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that.
They had their first hit. I'm Not Ready to Let You Go is the name of their first hit on Stax Records.
Wow.
Back in the day, they're from Memphis. This is way before they got with Maurice White and did all that stuff. You know, they had already established themselves. And I mean, some of the old doo-wop people, I mean, I still love all that.
Yeah.
I'm an old school person. I mean, I love Charlie Wilson. You know, Frankie
Uncle
Beverly.
Charlie, yes.
Frankie Beverly and Mays.
Yes.
I mean, to me, you know, those white parties where they all dressed in white, like, I mean, I like Chris Brown. I like Snoop.
Come on now.
You know, I like Bruno Mars. There's a lot of people out that are fabulous.
Yes.
But
your heart is the old school stuff.
I mean, I love John Legend.
Yeah. Oh man. Talented.
I mean, not only it's his songwriting. He's such a prolific songwriter.
Absolutely.
And also singer, but the mood that he sets.
Yes.
It does something to me way down on the inside. I get chill bumps sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, about him, but I would say old school.
Old school. You know what? I'm in the same boat with you. So old school for me, I grew up. I'm born in '91. So old school for me is Whitney Houston. It's
Lord have mercy.
Boys to Men.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's that's my old school.
Okay. Bless you, Lord. Help him, Lord.
I was a baby.
I'm just
you know what
teasing.
I'm saying? So,
I understand.
Yeah, you know, so
Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, but like right before that, I mean, and plus like my mom and my dad, they raised me and my siblings on the old school, you know, the Whispers. You know what I mean?
And the beat goes on.
Yeah, come on now. My favorite is Rocksteady. That's like my all-time favorite Whispers. Oh man, hands down. Gap Band, Earth, Wind and Fire. Like that's what I grew up on. So I have a heart for the old school.
You know, you could consider that nowadays as old school because there's all of this new music that's out. You know, a lot of it is good, but
it's not that.
No, it's not that.
Yeah.
Not that it's not good, but I don't feel it the same way.
Yeah, and I
don't feel it.
You brought up such a key point. I was listening to this on the radio the other day. What music today, for the most part, is missing is feeling.
Feeling. You know,
John Legend is good at capturing the feeling.
The feeling.
Good at
absolutely.
You know, very few artists. There's a singer out here called Her. She's good at.
I love her.
She's good at getting the feeling.
I love her.
Yeah.
But her dad, Gabby's dad.
Yeah.
raised her old school, on old school music, and she was spawned from that era. He's a great musician too.
Yeah.
And exposed her to all of these instruments. She plays multiple instruments, and her style of writing is, to me, it's in a class by itself. She is contemporary.
Yep.
But there's something about the mood she sets.
Yes.
It's real sensitive,
Yes.
and romantic, and it doesn't have all the overtures and all the other stuff. It's just straight vocal and instruments and emotion.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I mean, I think that sets her apart. I think she's super special.
Yeah, I understand that, and I can appreciate that for sure. Okay, I got a couple more. I'm curious to know, old school or new school hair, like hairstyles. So before you answer, let me tell you why I brought this up. I'm on social media and I'm scrolling. I see an old picture of myself when I was a baby, and my mom is sitting right next to me, and her hairstyle, it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. It was a thing back in the 90s, which is cool, but it was like a not a pompadour, but it was puffed up.
They wore big hair.
Thank you.
It was big hair.
Yeah,
It was big hair.
So, and I'll bring this up to my mom, and she's like, "I was looking good." I'm like,
That was what was up in them days.
So would you prefer old school styles or new school styles?
Well,
Ooh, I got her.
wow. I might say old school, and I'll tell you why.
Interesting. Okay.
I'll tell you why, because everybody is going back to big hair now.
I get that. Yeah.
It's, they call it retro. They just copying us. It's just like,
right.
we were rocking bell bottoms, and we were rocking midriffs, and we were rocking afros and platform shoes, and we were rocking all of that stuff.
Right.
Already, and it's coming back around. It's like weird. For me, when I was with West End Records, my first record label, I did this song, "Do It to the Music," and it ended up being number 10 on the pop charts in England, and it was number 1 on WBLS, which is the major station in New York, for like 22 weeks that summer.
Wow.
It blew my mind. I mean, I didn't really realize, the impact that it was having, but it put me as a recording artist, because I was busy doing backgrounds and doing all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
But it put me on the map as a recording artist.
Yes.
And this was during the time when there was deep house. I hate the word disco. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I like deep house. It was
Yeah.
house music.
Yes.
And in New York, that was what was up. Paradise Garage and all of that stuff with Sylvester and the Weather Girls and Grace Jones, and it was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
LL Cool J. This was a while back. But
Yeah.
now that very same record is reissued, and is considered a quote-unquote classic, a disco classic or a deep house classic, with so many of the international radio stations and DJs, especially London, France, Hong Kong.
Wow.
I mean, when my producer looks at my graphs, it's like that, and I did another record for them called Rescue Me. They're both vying for the most plays, but it's internationally.
Yeah.
Which was why I ended up deciding to move internationally, to leave the States and go and live abroad.
Wow.
Because you know, I lived in Hong Kong for like 13 years, and all my stuff.
What? Wait a minute.
You didn't know that?
You was living in Hong Kong for 13 years?
Yeah, I just came back like 3 years ago.
Dang.
To the States.
That's crazy.
I had to come back because of COVID.
Got it.
But, the thing is that in Europe, I found as a Black American artist that they really get behind you and appreciate you and show their love differently than, it's nice to be a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, I get that.
And they really, I brought the blues there, and I didn't even know that there was, I thought it was a niche market. There's a huge blues audience over there. And R&B, they love our swag. They sag. They're trying to wear afro. They wearing dreads. They're just, it's the Black American swag thing that, especially with the younger generation over there. But the older generation appreciates all that classic music.
Yeah.
And jazz.
Yeah.
Is huge there in Shanghai, especially because back in the 30s and 40s, during the time of segregation, when the famous musicians here couldn't get a break or get any action or get any attention, if they left and went to Shanghai, for example, there's a huge jazz audience over there, and especially for R&B, American Black musicians and artists, they really get behind you over there and support you immensely. So I got really comfortable because I was thinking like, wow, I'm sort of kind of reinventing myself over here, and it feels really good. Yeah, it felt really good to be appreciated on that level. Yeah, because over here they're like, so many, unless you have a major record deal, unless you're a Bruno Mars or a Luther Vandross or a Whitney Houston, and there's so many other artists that are amazing, but you kind of get lost in the show.
Yeah, I understand. It's kind of difficult to stand out.
Well, yeah, because especially now, I mean, it seems to be, with all this new music, there's so many artists. I don't know. They kind of all sound kind of the same to me.
Listen.
I'm sorry.
I've been saying that.
I said it. Yes, I did.
I've been saying that. So I'm glad you brought that up because I want to tap more into that. But we got to take a break. And we're going to come back and finish this last segment. Okay. You guys watching, don't go anywhere. We got one more segment. We're still here with Miss Sybil. This is still Planet 24/7 podcast, and we'll be right back.
We're not the same. We're not the same.
Welcome back to Planet 24/7 podcast. We are here. Still, we got Miss Sybil here. A lot of interesting stuff that I'm learning about her today. So I hope you guys are learning something too. But we're on our last segment right now, and before we continue with that, she wants to give a shout out to a few specific people. So again, I'm going to pass the mic this way and allow you to give those people a shout out.
Yeah, when I was living in Hong Kong, I left the States and I moved over to Hong Kong. I lived there for about 13 years, and while I was there, I met this amazing producer, Makoto Horiuchi is his name. Now he was not only a recording artist, but a producer, executive producer for Quincy Jones's label, Quest. When Quincy Jones had that label, they did James Ingram, Shaka, Patty Austin, all kinds of stuff like that, and like a lot of really great stuff. But we met there. Okay. And so he was looking for international artists for his label, and he signed me to Cool Tone Records is the name of it. He doesn't live in Hong Kong. He lives in San Francisco. But so we did a record, and I owe them one more. Okay. So I'm going back in next year, 2025, to do another album for them. So I'm sourcing for songs I'm writing, trying to pull together. You know, you need more than what you're going to use. So it's,
Right.
you know, so I wanted to give a shout out to Cool Tone Records. They have really supported me as an artist, doing international jazz festivals and all kinds of stuff around, outside of the U.S. But I want to, you know, continue doing stuff in Europe. I love living abroad and
Yeah.
being excited about my music being accepted and received abroad.
Okay, I heard that. Can we have a date for the album possibly?
Well, we're shooting for like this early summer.
Okay.
So like May, June,
Gotcha.
something
Okay.
like that, because we need time.
Gotcha. I understand. Good things
Everybody's
take
got
time.
a lot of stuff going on, so yeah.
Yeah. Good things.
Well,
take
I'm just
time.
planning ahead. It might be sooner, but yeah, definitely by the summer releases, because you know, you depending on the time of year that your stuff is released.
Yes.
So that's a good time to do it.
Okay, I got you. We'll be on the lookout for it.
Okay.
While we're waiting for this amazing project, this part of the segment, this part of the podcast is typically where I like to kind of pick your brain and take this opportunity to encourage our viewers, right? So if there was anything, which I'm going to ask you specifically, anything that you may have struggled with in your career, or if there was ever a time where, you know, you just didn't feel good enough, you know, or whatever, this is the segment that we're going to be doing that.
Okay.
You know, so I wanted to ask, with such a colorful resume that you have, was there ever a time working with any artist or any label, any country, whatever, to where you just felt like, I don't know if I belong here?
Yes, I do know. I remember there was a time when I got hired to work to sing background with Stevie Wonder. And he was doing his very last tour, the N Square Circle tour. And he had held all of these auditions in LA like forever, you know, and ended up with 3 singers, amazing singers.
Wow.
But he wanted a 4th voice. He was just hearing 4-part harmony instead of 3. But he didn't want to hold another audition because it's too involved.
Right.
And he was in New York. And so he called me. Somebody asked me, how did you get the job? And I said to them, and this is simply what happened. He called me on the phone.
Stevie called you?
Yes.
Wow.
And he told me what he was doing and that he had the tour play, but he wanted this 4th singer, and was I available? And I said to myself, well, yeah, of course I want the job, but I had a 5-month-old daughter.
Gotcha.
And I couldn't decide if I was gonna leave her and go out. It was a 9-month tour. He was touring all across the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing opportunity for me. But I didn't have to work as hard as the other singers did. So, and I kind of thought, wow, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And so I asked him if I could call him back the next day. I would have to think about it. And I called my father, Luther Thomas. And he said, you told Stevie Wonder you was going to think about it and going to call him back tomorrow.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, hold up. You said I'm going to call you later to Stevie Wonder?
I got to call you back tomorrow.
I was just thinking that.
You know, because of my daughter.
Yeah.
And, you know, my responsibility, I was a first mom, you know, I only have the one child. And I just thought, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
This is huge.
Yeah.
But so is being a mom.
Yes.
And
First time mother?
Yes, I only have the one.
Gotcha.
And she was 5 months. I can't leave her.
Yeah,
you know.
I get it.
And then I have my family that they were like, "Go and do it. We'll take care of her." And I was like, "But I don't want to be away from her. Like that's like asking me, can I have your arm? No.
Right.
But so I called him back, the next day, and my dad advised me, well, the other singers, they really worked hard to get their, positions in the group, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I just picked up the phone.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, well, look, this is my situation, and if I could hire a nanny to travel with me, and I pay the nanny's insurance, and I pay insurance on my daughter in case, of anything.
Of course.
And I'll be responsible with that work. And he said, yeah, as long as you can make all the rehearsals and be where you need to be, not a problem.
Wow.
So I took my daughter on the road.
That's
with me.
right.
Well, my dad took me on the road when I was a kid. I remember.
Yeah. Full circle moment.
Yeah. So I took her on the
Wow.
road. She had her first birthday in Syracuse, and Stevie was holding her up and had the whole 15,000 people singing "Happy Birthday to you."
Wow.
It was. She doesn't remember a lot, most of it.
Yeah.
But she was our mascot.
Yeah. That's incredible.
She
Your
learned how to
first birthday.
walk. She learned how to walk on the tour bus. They called it bus surfing. Look at her. There she
Yeah,
goes.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was
Wow.
one time when I felt like this is bigger than me. Maybe I shouldn't do this. But in the back of my mind, I felt like I deserve the opportunity. I'm talented enough. And he asked me.
Yeah.
And I'm not from the school where people say no. You ask me, can you do something? I say yes.
Yeah.
Even if I can't do it,
Yeah.
I'll say yes and find out what I need in order to make it right.
Right. Exactly.
But I say yes always. I never say no. Well, no, that's not me. I don't do that. I say yes. Can you do such? Yes.
I love that. So was there ever a time to where, because you mentioned, which is so amazing, by the way, your daughter's first birthday, you have, not only you have Stevie Wonder singing happy birthday, the person that wrote the greatest birthday song ever,
he's holding her
and
she's
is
on
holding you
Yeah.
with 15,000 people singing to you.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it, you don't even remember.
She was just clapping her hands.
Yeah.
She was just clapping her hands. She was a baby. And
Yeah, I get that.
I remind her of it, but she doesn't remember it the way I do.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she was just an infant.
Yeah, I get that. Was there
Toddler,
ever-
actually.
Right. Was there ever a moment to where, I know that you said you come from the generation where you just say yes and you figure it out later, and I can respect that. Was there ever a time where you just had to say no?
Yes.
Can you explain what that was and what happened?
Well, I got called to do a session. It was for these Japanese people, and there was no rehearsal for the session. Everything was written in notes, and I don't read music as well as some other people. And there was no, they just were cutting straight to the track. 3, 2, 1, and you just start singing. So I'm reading these notes, and I'm messing up.
Yeah. Was it in their language?
No, it was just music,
Got it.
But your reading chops had to be up in order to do that session, because it was all written, all notation.
Got it.
So if you can't read the notation,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna be able to do the session.
Got it.
And you can't be flubbing up, because time is money and they ain't starting over, and they're not gonna come out and play it for you and show you.
Right.
You gotta be right there.
Wow.
And that was a big disappointment for me, because I eventually had to tell them I'm struggling with this notation.
Wow.
But I have someone that I can call who reads better than I do. So instead of throwing them under the bus and them losing money for the recording session, I felt it was my responsibility to at least call one of my singer associate girlfriends who reads better than I do.
I can respect that.
And give her the job.
I can respect
because
that.
I knew that I couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
And that's just, it happened.
I get that. I can respect that. A lot of people are, especially, the younger generations, they're afraid to admit that they can't do something. Yeah. They feel like it's making them less of a man or a woman by admitting I can't sing this, or I can't dance, or I can't play this sport, or whatever the case may be. But for you not only to admit that you couldn't do it, but for you to give someone else an opportunity, like, that's big.
Well, in life, as you navigate through this thing called life, you have to know your limitations. I mean, you need to acknowledge your strengths and also be aware of your weaknesses. You can build your weaknesses into strengths, but depending on the situation and circumstance, you might not have the time to do that.
Yeah.
And so then, boils down to your choices. I felt it was honorable for me to be honest. Mm-hmm. But not only that, but to have access to someone that could fill that spot so they wouldn't have to suffer or, have to reschedule the session or lose money or wait for somebody. Right. I mean, I called her and she, on the break, and she was there. Yeah. And she was able to do it.
I love that.
And they were happy.
That's
and
good.
So was I. And I didn't hang my head when I left.
I was getting ready to say, you left with your head up.
Well, yeah, because, I felt this was the best choice for me, and to be responsible and respect who hired me. Yes. Because I told them yes, that I could do it.
Right.
Because I always said yes.
Yes, of course.
But then I got myself caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, had to make a decision.
And I had to make a choice.
Yeah.
But I needed to make a wise choice out of respect for them.
I love that.
And for myself.
That's very honorable.
It was tough,
I love
though.
that.
It was tough.
I believe you.
It was tough.
I believe you. So I want to ask you, our producers just gave us the signal, but I want to ask you this last question now so that you can have as much time as you want to answer this question. Now, mind you, the people that I like to talk to are the people that are struggling with their creativity. I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too big, I'm too skinny, I'm too whatever, or I'm not good enough for whatever. I run into a lot of those people, a lot. Or I don't have the resources, I don't have the money, I don't know who to, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But sitting here listening to you, like, just from what I've gotten from the interview so far, is just do it. Just go and do it.
Putting yourself out there, not being, be fearless. Mm-hmm. Just be fearless. I mean, sometimes the sparrow survives the storm, the rain, and all of that by just holding their ground. Yeah. And facing the wind. Yeah. And getting rained on. Yeah. Because the sun's going to come out and your feathers are going to dry. Yes. And you're going to be able to fly. Just be fearless. God is in this.
Come on.
And he will somehow, when you least expect it, cause the right person to cross your path in life at the right time. Just hold your ground and do what it is that you do. Do you. Just keep doing it. Yeah. Don't worry about all of those other things are frivolous when it comes down to your talent. It's all God-given anyways. Yeah. And, people can recognize it. Mm-hmm. People can see it. People can feel it. Yeah. And you just keep putting yourself out there. Put yourself in a way. Lay across the road if you have to. But keep putting yourself out there. Keep writing. Keep plugging. Keep singing. Keep doing it. Because eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If it's meant for you,
Absolutely.
It will happen. God will make sure.
Amen. That.
He'll open doors. Like, for example, I just picked up the telephone and Stevie Wonder was on the other line asking me. I mean, I never thought that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. The unexpected happens all the time.
Yeah.
So you just keep, and I was putting myself out there. I mean, I had a name, a reputation, and I was plugging and doing stuff. Mm-hmm. So he knew who I was in the industry. Mm-hmm. We had a mutual friend, Bobby Humphrey, very famous jazz flautist, who he was having dinner with, and he was talking to about this, and she suggested me, and he went, "Oh yeah, Sybil, is she in New York? Give me her number."
Yeah.
And the unexpected things can happen. So just keep putting yourself out there, keep plugging, keep writing, keep singing, just keep doing you.
Yeah.
And
God will make a way.
Don't falter.
Yeah.
Don't falter, and don't back up from it. Just
stand on business.
Yeah. Don't back
I love
up.
That.
Don't back up.
It reminds me of something my mom says. Two things. One, she said a closed mouth don't get fed. And then she also told me later on in life, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
It's the oil. That's right.
So shout out to my mom. Love you, Mom. Man, I don't know about you guys at home, but I'm inspired.
Oh, this is fun.
And I'm motivated. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. And thank you for coming. Side note, to be a testimony to that, she said, put yourself out there. So I hit her up today. I said, hey, look, I'm sorry this is last minute. Can you come and do the podcast? Obviously, she's here.
Yes. I always told you. I always say yes. I never
and she said yes. So put yourself out there and you see what happens. So Miss Sybil, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was my absolute pleasure. I'm really happy you invited me. Thank you.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
And shout out to my man Mike over here, C.E.C, Create.Elevate.Community. Man, this has been another great episode of Planet 24/7 podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace out.
We're not the same.